Charles Oliveira can't beat Ilia Topuria. I'm just being honest, and I know that might be a controversial take, and people will not agree with me on this one, but ain't no way, bruh. Ain't no way, bruh. Oliveira is getting smoked at UFC 317, and I'm seeing this new narrative being created on social media by the MMA fan base, being like, man, Oliveira, he's so underrated, man. Patient Oliveira. Did you see what he done in his last fight, man? Ilia Topuria, the short guy from featherweight, yeah, his power isn't going to translate up to lightweight. Topuria, he's going in there with patient Oliveira. Oliveira's too big for Ilia Topuria. Yap. Oliveira can't win. Yeah, let's stop pretending. Let's stop gaslighting people. Oliveira is getting smoked at UFC 317. So today we're going to talk about the main event of UFC 317 in Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. We're also going to talk about how shit UFC 317 is. Yeah, I know this is a good main event, but the rest of the card is absolute diabolical. And I won't let the UFC get away with it. But let's get back to this matchup right here. So, I'm seeing a lot of people come out of the woodworks now saying Oliveira's going to win. Oliveira, how's Topuria going to deal with Oliveira's size? We're going to get into that. Topuria is too small for lightweight. We're going to get into that. Will Topuria's power carry up to the UFC's lightweight division? We're also going to talk about that. And just talk about both guys stylistically. And I'm going to give my early prediction for this matchup. Let's quickly run over the Ilia Topuria is too small for lightweight narrative.
Bruh.
Ilia Topuria stands at 5'7". Oliveira, yes, is taller than Ilia Topuria. Oliveira is 5'10". But Ilia Topuria isn't a dwarf. And just to make a comparison, the number one contender in the UFC's lightweight division is Arman Tsarukyan. And Arman Tsarukyan is the same size as Ilia Topuria. So Ilia Topuria isn't small for lightweight. He just isn't. I don't know where this narrative has came from. And we've seen someone at 5'7" in Arman Tsarukyan in there with Oliveira. Now, yes, Arman Tsarukyan is a much more grappling heavy fighter than what Ilia Topuria is. But Arman Tsarukyan was winning the striking exchanges against Charles Oliveira. And Arman Tsarukyan is nowhere near the level of striker as Ilia Topuria. And I know MMA math doesn't always work. I do understand that. But that is just a point that I'm seeing a lot of people say. Ilia Topuria is too small. No, he's not. He's the same size as Arman. And Arman right now, outside of the champion, is the best fighter in that division. Moving on to another narrative I'm seeing. Ilia Topuria's power will not transfer up to lightweight. We've seen him fight at lightweight. This is a narrative I don't understand. Ilia Topuria, he's knocking out featherweights. He's knocking out the likes of smaller guys down at featherweight. We've seen him knock out Jai Herbert. Now, don't get me wrong. Jai Herbert isn't the same level of mixed martial artist as what Charles Oliveira is. But you can't train your chin. Oliveira is chinny. He has great, recovery. But Oliveira is a chinny fighter. And Ilia Topuria's knockout over Jai Herbert, honestly, is probably one of his most brutal. He folded Jai Herbert like a fucking deck chair in their matchup. Slumped Jai Herbert. So this whole narrative that his power won't carry up the lightweight, we've already seen it. So let's cut this shit out now. We've seen him throw heat at lightweight, and he arguably produced one of his most brutal knockouts to date. To date. We know that he carries power. Also, on the narrative of Oliveira is bigger than Ilia Topuria, how's he going to deal with Oliveira's range and size and shit like that? Look at what happened when he was in there with someone who's actually bigger than Charles Oliveira. Mark Goddard's holding Max Holloway's face saying, it's okay, bro. It's over. It's over. The bad guy's away. It's over. Max, you're safe. It's over. I've got you, Max. It's over. Ilia Topuria has been in there with someone bigger than Charles Oliveira. Now, not by much, 1 inch, but 1 inch goes a long fucking way. 1 inch is crucial in some circumstances. And we have seen Ilia Topuria in there with Max Holloway, Max Holloway's a better striker than Charles Oliveira. Factual information. The way Max Holloway moves, because let's just be honest here, Oliveira is going to have to fight off the back foot if he wants to beat Ilia Topuria. If Oliveira wants to have success on the feet, with Topuria, it's going to be using his length on the back foot. And we've seen someone who is better at actually fighting like that in Max Holloway, who's got a really good jab, a volume puncher, might not hit as hard as what Charles Oliveira does, but Max Holloway does have power, but his jab, his footwork, the way he moves, he's a much better fighter on the back foot than what Charles Oliveira is. And on the feet, Oliveira isn't going to beat Ilia Topuria inside the pocket. Let's just be completely upfront and honest here. If Oliveira is going to have success on the feet against Ilia, it's off the back foot, which isn't how Oliveira fights. Max Holloway, a guy who fights like that. Look at what Ilia Topuria done to him. Also, this goes towards the power aspect of Ilia Topuria. Who has done that to Max Holloway? Because I'm going to sit here right now until you fucking tell me. Because I'm going to tell you brief and quick so I don't waste anybody's time. Nobody is doing that to Max Holloway. People thought Max Holloway's chin was unbreakable. Ilia Topuria absolutely hit Max Holloway with the Bomba Glad. We've never even seen Max Holloway, not even the knockout shot. We've never seen Max Holloway react to shots like that on the feet, like what Ilia Topuria was hitting him with. Like, we've never really... I know you might say the Gaethje matchup. Not really. Like, Max, it was like a flash knockdown. Max was straight up. He was fine. He was moving. It didn't have an effect on Holloway. Like, the shots that Ilia was landing on Max Holloway, who has a granite chin, to the lead up to that knockout sequence, were visibly hurting Max Holloway. I remember that shot before. I remember the shot that landed before Ilia Topuria went in for the kill shot, and Max Holloway kind of like wide-eyed. Never ever seen that from Max Holloway before. So this again goes to prove to my point of Ilia Topuria's power will carry up. Now, people might say it's a weight train Max Holloway, blah 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 blah. Well, what about Justin Gaethje then? What about Dustin Poirier? Because Max has been in there with those two guys and they couldn't do what Ilia done to him. It's just... And then let's go on to this one here. Patient Oliveira, bruh. Did you see Oliveira's last performance against fucking Michael Chandler? And the fact that people are saying, well, look at how good Oliveira was in his last matchup, and Michael Chandler's the same height as Ilia Topuria, and he's an explosive guy looking for the knockout punch. Don't compare Michael Chandler to Ilia, yeah? Let's stop coping at this level. Michael Chandler is nowhere near the level of skill that Ilia Topuria is. The only thing they have in common is Michael Chandler hits hard. And Michael Chandler eventually, even though he was gassed, he found the shot on Oliveira in round 5. And the difference being is Ilia Topuria is so much more clinical. This actually sounds like an Ilia Topuria glaze session, but I'm just being upfront and honest here. Oliveira is not winning. And I'm an Oliveira fan. But when we're comparing fights like this, Michael Chandler was gassed and he was able to land the shot on Oliveira, hurt him in round 5. Yeah. Another thing, Michael Chandler is horrendous at getting his opponent out of there when he's finished. Especially at the elite level. Like, he had Poirier rocked with straight shots. Instead of continuing, what did he do? Picked him up and dumped him. Started just throwing wild hooks. Ilia Topuria is going to land the shot on Oliveira. He's going to hurt Oliveira. And he's going to pick his shots. He's going to pick the timing. The timing of Ilia Topuria is impeccable. And then Oliveira's grappling. Look, this is true, and this is something that this could happen. Ilia Topuria, yes, I know he's bought into the sport as a grappler. I know I like to say that. A lot of people like to say that. People forget, man, Ilia came into the sport as a grappler, not a striker. But Oliveira does have really good wrestling, and also he is a very, like, a jiu-jitsu threat. Like, this guy's got the most subs in UFC history. This guy is a threat. But, and I know Ilia Topuria's grappling is in question because, you know, Bryce Mitchell took him down. Bryce Mitchell was able to hold him down. Bryce Mitchell isn't the level of grappler as what Oliveira is. I get all of that. I really do. But I just don't see... Like, you know, Michael Chandler isn't the submission threat of what an Oliveira, or sorry, what a Topuria is. Do you know what I mean? Like, Topuria is going to be looking for submissions. He's not just going to lie there and then be like, oh, shit, it's round 5, stand up and try and throw all, like, just jump back. Like, that's just not going to be Ilia Topuria. He's going to constantly be looking to get back to his feet. I don't think Oliveira will have the success against Topuria in the grappling. I really don't. I just don't see it. And Topuria is a better grappler than what Michael Chandler is. I actually think there's a chance that Ilia might submit Oliveira. Genuinely, I think he's going to drop Oliveira. And I think there's a chance that Ilia Topuria looks to snap up the Dorsch choke. Kind of just to throw salt in the wound to Islam Makhachev. Oliveira is good. I'm not saying Oliveira isn't good. This guy's got good Muay Thai. It's not going to work against Topuria. I think Topuria is going to chew the lead leg of Oliveira up with his calf kicks. Topuria's got some really good calf kicks. I think he's going to chew up Oliveira. Oliveira in close quarters against Topuria is going to get fucking lit up. Lit up. At range, Topuria is going to close the distance. I don't think Oliveira is going to be able to poke and prod at Topuria at range. And that's just not Oliveira's style either, though. Topuria is going to chew up his calf. He's going to close the distance. When Oliveira looks to clinch with him, Ilia is going to unleash body shots and then whip shots over the top. He is beating Charles Oliveira. Ilia Topuria, stylistically, is an awful matchup for Charles Oliveira. He really is. I don't see a narrative where people... this is crazy, and obviously, like, he's got good submissions, there is that. I think this is like, I am 99% certain that Ilia Topuria is going to stop him inside 2 rounds. Styles make fights, I know that's cliche to say, and Ilia Topuria's style is awful for Charles Oliveira. It just is. It just is. So that's what I mean whenever I say Oliveira can't win. Topuria, like, what would be the word? The categories you are setting up for why Ilia Topuria is going to stumble at Oliveira, they can be easily disproven. Honestly, Topuria is beating him. But let's move on to UFC 317. Good main, good co-main event, yeah. I like Pantoja, Kai Kara-France. Pantoja doesn't want to move up to bantamweight, and I've kind of came to terms with that. I understand that, because if Pantoja moves up and loses to, say, Merab or Sean O'Malley, he is never moving back down and fighting for the belt again. That's just facts. He's not a big needle mover. The UFC don't make a boatload of money off him. It's not going to happen. However, Pantoja staying a flyweight, I completely get he's the champion, he gets pay-per-view points, he gets paid a boatload of money for being a champion. And plus, Pantoja's like a couple wins off being the GOAT of that division. Facts. Because names on resume means more than title defenses against plumbers, I'm just going to be honest.
Huh?
I think it's a fun scrap. Beneil Dariush Moicano, I understand why they've done that, Unk versus Unk. But you should have done Beneil versus Mauricio Huffy and Moicano versus Feresian. Those were the matchups that should have been on this. You've got Brandon Royval, Manal Cap, great matchmaking, love it. Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov, I really like this matchup. I am going to be putting money on Paulo Costa at an underdog. I actually think that's crazy. Paulo Costa's been in there, he's proven against elite guys. Roman Kopylov isn't, and he does slow down. I think Paulo Costa will beat him by decision. Jack Hermansson, Gregory Rodriguez, again, an underrated fight, but a really good one in my opinion. Nice to see Jack Hermansson back. Jonathan Deniz versus Justin Tafa. If this is on the main card, I'm going to fucking freak out. And then we've got a women's MMA matchup. Yeah, it's Tracy Cortez. People are going to goon to that, but where's, like, literally if they done Beneil, Mauricio Huffy, Moicano, Feresian, I would actually be really happy about that matchup, about those fights. Because you've got ranked guys that are well known in Beneil Dariush and Moicano, especially the Beneil Dariush Mauricio Huffy matchup. Like, Mauricio Huffy's got a massive following. That there's a massive matchup. That's like the perfect feature fight to the card. Moicano, Feresian. Feresian deserves to jump up in the rankings. He's on a crazy win streak right now. That should be here. And then Royval, Manel Cap opening up the main card. Yeah. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. But yeah, this is being very carried by the main event. And it should have been Ilya versus Islam. It should have been me. But we're not going to get into that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. There ain't no way, bruh. Oliveira can't win. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.